The War Game. Albedo was rarely bored. Being the equivalent of a prime minister kept her rather busy, but with her lord away and everything designed to run the state in place, there were sometimes hours where she was truly at peace, which is to say, she had not a damn thing to do. Early on, she studied to be a wife and a mother to prepare for the day when her lord would love her as he had decreed that she should love him. However, she noted that she had enough clothes and had read all the books in the library that were relevant to what she needed to know. So, what else was there to do but find enjoyment in the company of her relative peers, which were, of course, Pandora's actor and Demiurge. The two had one common interest in particular, and that was strategy gaming. Whereas Albedo did not enjoy it as naturally as they, she came to appreciate it on a fundamental level as a rare intellectual challenge, and so, as a result, she began to play with them. Using some simple toys, they devised a system of state administration and military conflict influenced by dice and cards that they could play against one another in an ever-shifting system of alliances, betrayals, and coups that laid the groundwork for their little military victories. As expected of Albedo, Demiurge said, when she betrayed Pandora's actor with her soldiers behind his lines and began firing into his massed ranks. Little toy soldiers were removed from the grid squares they occupied as she rolled a perfect 20 twice in a row, inflicting devastating damage on her new opponent. "Of course," she said smugly as the turn passed to Demiurge. "Of course, indeed. And that is why I anticipated your choice to betray him and informed him of this fact. You have hit only his weakest and least experienced soldiers," Demiurge then added, "while I have saved my movement points from my elites just for this occasion." Demiurge smiled and did a forced march against 3 of her major city markers and seized each of them with minimal effort. "Alas, I am not undone as you planned, mein guten Overseer," Pandora's actor said dramatically as he wheeled about his infantry and began a fighting withdrawal that took his men out of reach, and shockingly, into territory held by Demiurge, which he proceeded to plunder to restore his strength. "Or you, my good Demiurge, did you not think that I would see that you planned for us to destroy one another as you enriched yourself?" he asked as he betrayed his ally in turn. Demiurge cursed as he realized his own territory was being plundered rather than defended. "I should expect nothing less from the creation of our Lord," Demiurge said as he shook his head. "However, I am prepared. With a defense in depth, you will get no deeper without help." "And he will have it," Albedo replied as she said, "half the treasure you've plundered, and I will sell you some of my forces as mercenaries, on the condition that you flank him if he should withdraw from my territory to stop you." "Agreed," Pandora's actor replied enthusiastically. Thus they conducted the trade as soon as they harvested what resources they could, and Demiurge struck deeper into Albedo's territory as she moved her other armies into the besieged areas that he had taken. Pandora's actor seized 2 more city markers from Demiurge before he was forced to hire more mercenaries, and Demiurge found that even though he took 2 more from Albedo, he could no longer advance, nor could she, leaving them at a stalemate. 2 more rounds passed without change until Albedo looked smug. "Demiurge, withdraw your armies from my territory, and I will withdraw my support of my mercenaries from Pandora's actor, and we can go plunder his lands together. With the wealth of it, you can reclaim your lands from him." "Agreed," Demiurge replied, and the alliance shifted once again. "I gasp! I am undone," Pandora's actor remarked tragically as the 2 advanced on his territory. "Nein!" he emphatically quipped, and played a natural disaster card, creating flooding that slowed their advance and forced them to march a longer route to his territory, giving him time to abandon Demiurge's lands to go defend his own from two sides. "Well, there's no place like home," Albedo said, as she abandoned Demiurge and took back the cities that he'd captured. The plundering he'd done had reduced their value to 1, giving her no income from them. But the same happened to his own. However, with the wealth that Demiurge had temporarily gained, he was, on his own, able to take several city markers from Pandora's actor and plunder them the same way, even with his attempt at a flank by the expedition Albedo had weakened by abandoning him. "Gott in Himmel!" Pandora's actor exclaimed. "I am struck down by villainous betrayal." He gestured theatrically and moved his cavalry out from a hidden position and rolled a 20, devastating Demiurge's expeditionary force. "We have a problem," Albedo said as she looked at the board. Yes, we do," Demiurge and Pandora's actor echoed as they looked down at the same thing. All the territory values that generated income for armies had been reduced to a value of 1, meaning nobody had money to raise new armies, and they destroyed each other so thoroughly that their war had effectively ended in a draw unless they spent numerous boring turns letting their territories rebuild gradually with random dice rolls to up their values. "Draw?" Demiurge asked. He didn't much care for long waits. "Draw," Albedo echoed. "Draw," Pandora's actor agreed. "No wonder our Lord spends so much time winning lands with minimal conflict. If he did things this way, even when he won, it would be like winning a prize of garbage and not a chest of jewels," Demiurge said with sage understanding that was quickly echoed by the other two. "Shall we play again?" Albedo asked. "This makes 272 draws and 0 wins for anybody so far." Pandora's actor and Demiurge shrugged amicably. None of them had cheated beyond the expected betrayals of the game itself, so it was always an amicable engagement. "Why not? It will pass the time until our Lord returns," Demiurge said. "I'll shuffle the cards, you lay out the board," Pandora's actor said enthusiastically to Albedo. "Happy to," she said. "Winner gets to play as Nazarick next game," she proposed. "Agreed," both Demiurge and Pandora's actor said optimistically. So far, nobody had gotten to play as Nazarick, and while none of the three would ever admit it, these constant draws reminded them that none of them were worthy to do so. After all, who could properly represent the true ruler of conspiracy? None of them, and they knew it. But they did at least enjoy the game, the company, and pretending that one day they too could plan for 20,000 years in advance. The Guardians had been playing in Nazarick's bar, and being the public place that it was, this rapidly began to draw attention. Most of the time, they were in relative isolation. However, when the bartender mentioned the way the Three Geniuses were playing, it rapidly began to draw an audience that would just drop by and linger to watch. The 274th game went no different than the last. Demiurge betrayed Pandora's actor, setting his lakes on fire so that his fishing industry was ruined, not realizing that Pandora's actor had anticipated this, and traded the fishing income to Albedo in exchange for support, outraging her and driving her to massacre the 3 great cities of Demiurge. Pandora's actor responded to the opportunity to weaken his erstwhile ally and burned all her fields, reducing their value to 1 for the next 7 turns. Thus, none of them drew income, and they all could just watch as their armies starved to death until their income could be rebuilt and they could start again. As they passed around the dice and drew random event cards, they chatted. "So, we'll be solidifying our hold over the Northern Holy Kingdom soon, and the Southern Holy Kingdom is completely withdrawing from the conflict," Albedo said casually, smiling as she drew an earthquake card, which she tucked away in her stash. "Yes, mein Vater is a genius," Pandora's actor replied as he waved his arms dramatically and leaned back in his chair before he shot forward and drew a card, grateful for his permanent poker face when he drew a Death March meteor shower card. He has effectively won one nation and forced another to submit. The terms are humiliating. I am so proud to be his son. With good reason, Demiurge added, as he gave a grim smile while he drew the Greek Fire Discovered card. His victories give him everything and seldom cost him anything. We'll have the largest and strongest empire in this world's history, much of the continent. I thought I figured out his plan for Argland, but with their situation being what it is, with the trials, well, now I must reevaluate everything. The turns passed by quickly until their income started to grow. The farms recovered first and faster. However, only Demiurge was within easy reach, so Demiurge forced a temporary alliance with Pandora's Actor to send support to fend off Albeto's nascent army. With this, Pandora's Actor complied, and they held her off despite her superior numbers until their income went up enough to field armies that could drive her back. No sooner than they began to encroach on her territory in earnest than she played the earthquake card against their armies and swallowed up several divisions. As they withdrew, she offered several turns of peace to Pandora's Actor if he supported an attack on Demiurge. This Pandora's Actor agreed to, only to find that Demiurge used a fast-moving scout and rode to his fishing industry and used his Greek fire card to burn the lakes and port areas, destroying his fishing industry again and making him dependent on Albedo for supplies, which she provided as long as he kept his soldiers on the front doing the dying. He responded by brokering a deal with Demiurge to aim badly, and he turned on Albedo the turn before his recovery, and together they destroyed her advancing armies again. Pandora's Actor, for good measure, however, used his Death March meteor shower card and destroyed Demiurge's cities again. This left armies with no food supplies or income, and Albedo with no army. They advanced and burned her cities and her fields before their starving soldiers could be effectively ruined by her small local defenses. It was an ugly, ugly world they were fighting over. Sebas watched with interest. Their cities had been burned twice, their lakes were fire, their oceans were polluted ruins, their farms were ashes twice over. Their population had no food, and so their armies were all starved to death when not slaughtered. It was a stark look at their perspective on warfare. "Did you want to win so much as that?" Sebas asked curiously. "You've ruined everything you were fighting over," he said, as they were struck with yet another series of do-nothing turns as they passed the dice and drew cards. "True, but whoever wins will be king of the ashes," Demiurge said with a smile. "Or queen," Albedo said with a sultry smile of her own. "Never," Pandora's Actor said firmly as he raised a finger dramatically over his head. As the butler was leaving the bar, Sebas felt a profound sense of relief that all three of them were under the rule of the wise Lord Ines. All right, this has been The War Game, a story of the God Rising author universe from Overlord. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, by all means, feel free to support the project on Patreon. That will turn the story into an illustrated ebook. You can do that at patreon.com/godrising, or if you want to support my original work, then you can do that at patreon.com/tellingstories. All right, thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great day.